Joe.
Hey Penny, how you doing today?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for taking the time out today. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Anytime. I'm here for you.
Thank you.
So, what are you looking to talk about today?
We're about a year through the program right now,
Mhm.
and I know this is a big topic, and I'm hoping to actually. I'm sorry, let me mute that. I'm hoping to actually whittle this down to maybe small, chewable bites.
Okay.
But now I'm thinking about what's next. We're 8 months left in the program, and I want to really think about leveraging my EMBA to leap onto something completely different. But I don't know if I really want to do that or not.
You don't know if you really want to leap onto something different?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Or do I stay the same? Right
Mhm.
now I'm a consultant, or do I try and jump into a real job
Mhm.
and into some sort of director slash vice president role?
Okay. So, the goal for today's session specifically, is you just want to get closer to making that decision, or do you want to have that decision made by the end of our session?
No, no, no. Just maybe coming up with some sort of at least a first step to start thinking about how
Okay.
I would attack the problem.
Okay. So, what is your reality today? What is the situation? Tell me about the consulting that you're doing and what that's like.
Right now I'm basically a word of mouth consultant. I get different projects sent to me. I just finished one in healthcare last week. I just received another one, which will probably start on Thursday. That is with defense, and I do project management, and I help people do proposal writing for government projects. So I get called in to do a different type of project, and the projects last somewhere between 6 to 16 weeks. So they can be real short, like this one I'm getting ready to do,
Hmm.
or up to 4 months if it's a very large and involved proposal or project. So that's basically what I do now.
Okay. And what is it that you like about your current situation?
The best thing I like about my situation is the fact that I generally do something different um, on every project. So I get the chance to take some of my EMBA soft skills, and I think that's really where I've benefited from the program, and be just sort of set into a team of generally people who have worked together for a period of time, and I have to work with those teams. So my last gig was healthcare. The gig before that was with healthcare, but it was a different company. Before that, I was working for Amazon, which was amazing. And then, like, this one is a company in California, so it'll be a virtual run, but it's doing some defense work that I'm pretty familiar with. So it's just always something different. The people dynamics generally the same, but the projects are always something different, and
Hmm.
it's always some sort of deliverable. So at the end of the day, I actually hand them something, and they're generally very, very happy.
Okay. And what is it that you're not happy about with your current situation?
I think the thing about being a consultant is uh, there's always, I wouldn't say an irrational fear, but the work isn't steady. So I get paid a certain amount of money. That money goes in the bank. I pay myself a salary out of the big pot of money in the bank.
Hmm.
Um, and that tends to work out pretty well. Uh, at the end of the day, though, a bad turn of the economy, something external happens, and I guess you can say this for really wherever you work. Um, you can go through some real dry spells in terms of trying to find work. And those dry spells, I got an 11-year-old and my wife to take care of. Those dry spells, you don't want them to last too long.
Hmm.
So there's, the worst thing about it is there's not tremendous security in consultants. Plus, their consultants are a dime a dozen. I mean, almost all our professors are consultants. So, no offense.
No offense. Yeah, we might want to add that in there. Okay, so you have your current reality of what you like and what you don't like. So, what are some of the options that we can discuss that will help you resolve the things that you don't like? What are some of the things that you're thinking that you can do?
Well, one of the things that I've done, and it's worked out okay, is I've also signed on to another consulting company, and people know of them. Everybody's heard of Deloitte
Hmm.
or McKinsey or
Hmm.
Slalom or Group 7. I've signed on to another one. They're called Cortac, and they also help me hunt business. And I've been pretty happy with them, but at the end of the day, you always sort of still want to be a little bit more in control of your own destiny. I'm not sure if that makes sense. So that's one option, is I'm signed on with another company to help find work. I also, I wouldn't say I'm a partner, but I am teamed with two other consulting companies, very, very small companies, mom and pop, just like me. So if they get something that's sort of outside their realm of expertise, they sort of throw it over the fence to me. And if I come up with something, like one of them's an IT guy, obviously I'm not an IT guy. So if I get some sort of IT project, I say, hey, I'm not the guy to help you, but here, let me introduce you to my good friend Dave Jennings at Orpa Consulting. He will run with it for you.
Okay.
So I'm teamed with two other small mom and pop consulting companies, but quite honestly, that hasn't really led to anything beyond what I've either brought in or sent over the fence myself. The other thing is I can go and work for a bigger company. I could go and work for a Lockheed Martin here in Marietta, or Randstad. I'm not sure if they do W-2, but I see the Randstad building when I drive down 75. Or name of the one, I think it might be SRC, but there's another one off of Windy Hill. I could go find something with a Fortune 500 company, and maybe,
as a consultant or as an employee?
Well, I would, if I was looking for security and I was looking to probably consider really against what the cons are, I think maybe it would be as an employee, a W-2 employee, as opposed to being either an external consultant or an internal consultant. So.
Okay, so it is a big decision. I mean, you're talking about two really different directions of staying as a consultant and committing to that and trying to resolve those issues versus giving up the consulting and being an employee. So have you spent time thinking about under what conditions make that decision for you, like ranking the things that are important?
Actually, I haven't done that. That's probably not a bad idea.
Okay.
So that would be listing everything that's good, everything that's bad.
Like a pro and con.
Like a no kidding pro and con list.
Yeah. And because that's, if we even do some of that today, that's going to help narrow down where you can make the decision. Because these are really broad topics. And it sounds like you're going to have to take kind of a dual path and investigate potentially both paths.
I think you're right. I think having to investigate both paths is going to be something I'm going to have to do, because there are going to be pros and cons. We have a saying in the military: the sand is always browner on the other side of the fence in the desert. And people laugh about it, but it's true. And everything is all rose-colored glasses when you look at other people. But in the news today, even Boeing is getting ready to lay off hundreds of people from their space division. And that more than likely, quite honestly, for them is the beginning, at least in their space division. So, I understand that even if you're with a Fortune 500 company, and knock on wood, the other thing about working for yourself is you're the last guy to get fired. But even in a Fortune 500 company, I don't have a good feel, because I've never worked for one, really what the job security is like. I would imagine it depends on what you're doing. But I mean, I don't know that. That would be actually an interesting question to talk to some of my friends at some of those companies, because most military guys get hired by defense contractors.
So that's another option, is for you to talk to people who are employees of Fortune 500 companies and get some information from them about what the reality is like.
Yeah, and particularly, I think maybe if I make that pro and con list, particularly against the cons, hey, how secure do you really how many for example, how many layoffs? You've been with the company 20 years. How many packages has the company offered the employees?
Right.
And of all those packages, how many times did you like personally feel sort of at risk?
Right.
That's actually probably pretty smart. Just to at least reach out to a couple. I wouldn't know. Do you think that it would make sense to do it in different type of job specialties, or do you think I would just stick with the project, do like the types of things I do now, like project management, program management?
I would, yeah, it seems like doing, if you have the idea of the direction that you would stay in as an employee, then that would make sense.
Okay.
I can see some value in going outside of that just for comparison's sake. I think when you start the conversations, it will lead you to which way you need to go. But you've started a pro and con list verbally, right?
Yes.
Just in our conversation today, you've talked about what you like, what you don't like about both options.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just a matter of writing that down and then attacking each one. So you've already got some options about the security, which is the lack of security that you're concerned about for consulting. What are your concerns with being an employee? Is the security of whether or not you're going to get laid off. You've mentioned that. What other concerns would you have about giving up consulting and moving to an employee status?
Well, obviously the other major concern would be flexibility. Right now, my job is tremendously flexible. I lose some of that when I have to travel. For example, I'm going to have to go, I think I'm going to be offered a job for around the time we get back from Colombia, and it will probably take me through February. But that job is going to be mostly on-site, which is something I generally don't do. I don't normally take jobs on-site for that long. This one I probably would because it's super interesting. But what will actually almost be a taste of a real job, because I don't have the flexibility of picking my son up from school. I don't have the flexibility of I host a foreign exchange student, working with my foreign exchange student, and trying to get him to visit colleges and helping him with his English because he needs help with his English. Or he's taken the test of English as a foreign language, his TOEFL. He's doing that Saturday. And so, being able to help my wife get him to where he needs to be so he'll be successful. One of the reasons I left the military, quite honestly, is because of the lack of flexibility. I didn't want to be sitting in, wherever, call it Afghanistan, spend enough time there for months upon months upon months on end while my child grew up, and I missed birthday parties, and we missed anniversaries, and I missed parents' anniversaries. And people always say, well, when you get out, you're going to find out that your job's going to handcuff you from doing that anyway. So I answered that by not getting a job. So that's what I think I would miss is that type of flexibility. But one of the things that's really opened my eyes in the EMBA program, and I'm not sure depending on the level you're at, it will be the same way. But really, what kind of flexibility is out there? I can tell you when I was at Amazon, the flexibility was tremendous. So, simply tremendous. There were people who I worked with that when I was there for 2 months, I probably only saw them 5 or 6 times because either I was working from Atlanta or they were working from home, or, we're always 2 ships. So I don't know what kind of that flexibility is even out there in the workplace today.
So when you were talking about this next project that would take you through February that would be on site, was that a definite you're going to do that, or is that a you think you're going to do that?
I would think if I'm offered the position, I would probably do that job.
So which might be a good test case, as you said, for seeing what the flexibility is. But would you also need to do more on-site projects because that'll give you one instance of flexibility, right?
Yeah,
Would you want to do more?
I don't think I wouldn't want to do more because I would miss my flexibility. If I'm going to be flexible, I'm going to be flexible in the winter, which is why the timing for this job is perfect, as opposed to being flexible in the summer when I'd rather just sit at the pool. That's actually a good question. Probably wouldn't hurt to maybe do 2 or 3 jobs on site just to see what kind of flexibility is out there. Like I said, Amazon's going to be flexible. This job is going to be tremendously inflexible.
Right.
Based on the nature of the job, it's a cleared job, which means it involves security clearance and compartmented facilities and all this other stuff. So I don't picture that being too flexible. They never have been before in the past. So, but it would be interesting to go and do another one or two just to say. So I'll have to think about that. If I could break them up into smaller, like hey, 6 weeks here, 6 weeks here, 6 weeks here, 6 weeks here, that would be a great test case. But unfortunately, work just doesn't fall in my lap that way sometimes. But that's actually testing more on site work is a good thought.
So we have a couple of action-oriented steps for you to consider that we've already talked about. You've already done some of them. You've signed up with consulting companies and teamed up with other consulting companies. You're also looking about doing a written pro and con list so that you can visualize the things that you've been talking about that are kind of spinning around in your head. Doing some on-site consulting to see if the flexibility, how much of an issue that's really going to be. Do you feel like this list of things that we're talking about, you're also going to talk to people in the Fortune 500 companies to look at security and how secure their jobs are. So it's a big list, a couple of action items. Are these things that you feel like you can do, or that there's too much? Do we need to focus in one area, or do you think you can do even more and we should keep going?
Well, I think obviously the first thing to do is like, no kidding, just like I would if I was getting ready to go to college. Hey, what's the pros of going to this college and what's the real cons of going to this college? And I went to Purdue. Great school, super cold. So that's why I hate winter to this day. I think actually writing like a no kidding pro and con list, and maybe even getting my wife involved in it. So, she's got a stake in the game. Also, another reason I got out of the military was so I can involve her more in our decisions because they affect her. To write out the pro and con list, and you also mentioned to prioritize it. Say, all right, hey, 1 through N, what's most important to us?
Yeah.
Like there are things we could do. We like it here, we could move. So, staying here would probably be lower to the bottom. Having that flexibility may be higher on the list. So prioritize the list and really take a look at it to visualize it. I like how you use that word. And then from there, really talk to a couple people. One of the books that I've been reading, I'm not sure if you've read it yet, the networking book that we were handed out in class. It actually talks about, hey, once a week, connect with somebody that you haven't connected with lately on LinkedIn, and ask them for help, ask them a question to say, hey, and I could actually do that easily. Hey, 1 connection per week, really, 1 connection every couple days. Hey, I'm thinking about getting out of the consulting game. I'm concerned about A, B, and C. Tell me what you think about it. And so everybody would answer me.
Right. Leverage the network that you already have.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think, the idea of saying, hey, why don't Hillary and I sit down and come up with a pro and con list by, Sunday, give us a week. And then over the course of the next 8 weeks, hey, reach out to my buddies, hit two LinkedIn, 3 LinkedIn connections, whatever, a week for the next 6 to 8 weeks, and really get some feedback about, hey, based on my prioritized list, what's good, what's bad, what they see, and then that will allow Hillary and I, about this time 2 months from now, to say, all right, hey, no kidding, here's what we said was important. This is what industry is saying, how they actually see that list, and at least then we'll know if the sand is really browner.
If it's a really browner, and what shade of brown.
And what shade of
it
brown the
is.
sand is on the other side of the fence. That's a great idea. So yeah, I think that works out real well over the next week. Get that pro and con list done, and then get those LinkedIn emails out over the next course of like maybe the next 2 months.
Joe, it sounds like you've come up with a great plan and a schedule to do it. On a scale of 1 to 10, how committed are you to doing it?
You know, I'm a 10. I don't have a lot of
Yeah?
time. You know, the coaching the coaching session came at a good time. You know, one of the things that they told us in the beginning was there's a shelf life on our MBA, and the clock's already ticking.
Yeah.
And so this isn't anything that I really want to put off for a period of time. So yeah, I think I'm very committed. Just start to get her done.
Great. I think you're going to have great success with it. And of course, if you want to talk again, you know, I'm here. I'm always here to listen to you. So thanks for coming in
Hey,
and talking
thanks.
to
Penny,
me.
this is great. I really appreciate your time today.
Anytime.